Ladies and gentlemen, today we are ranking every season of Dexter from the worst to the best, and I've been looking forward to making this video for a very long time. If you've been a subscriber for the channel for quite a bit now, you may know that I did a tier list ranking the shows after I watched all of them that was up to New Blood, but instead of doing a regular tier list this time, I wanted to just actually rank the seasons from my least favorite to my most favorite. Slightly different type of take on that, now including Dexter Resurrection and Original Sin. I don't remember if I had that one on there anyway, but I also never gave my favorites. So without further ado, this is my long list from worst, 11 being the worst, to 1 being the best of Dexter. So you get to figure out where we go from there. So we're going to start obviously at the bottom and work our way up. And to begin, starting at the very bottom, number 11 is Dexter Season 8. There isn't one thing I like about Dexter Season 8. I think it lives up to its infamy, I guess you could call it, in being so bad. There was a lot of reasons for that for me. It was a mix of Evelyn Vogel, the brain surgeon, the worst ending in TV history, Deb's death, and the wishy-washiness of Hannah McKay, who is a character I actually really do like, but I just don't think they handled a lot of her well. So yeah, okay, this season immediately starts in a way that I just can't stand, by introducing this character that essentially retcons the idea that Harry Morgan created the code, which I find hilarious, honestly, that they would wait until season 8, the final season of Dexter, to do this. If this was really a true point, like if there was actual validity to the fact that there was someone else who created the code, they should have brought it up way sooner, number one. And number two, I'm not buying that a cop can't come up with that code at all. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's a cop's job is to seek justice, right? That's all Harry Morgan was always about, and he's been very clear that that's why he created the code. But apparently now, in the final season, there's this woman who's like, "You're a psychopath. I love psychopaths. I created the code for your father." Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. No, it just doesn't work for me. And the sad thing is, it's not the actress's fault at all that was that way. It was on the page. Who thought that was a good idea? I actually feel bad for the actress for it, but then again, she said yes to this, but who wouldn't say yes to being on Dexter? If I was given the opportunity to be in the worst season of Dexter, I'd be in the worst season of Dexter too. You know what I mean? But still, I never understood Evelyn Vogel. Again, no shade to the actress. She was fine. It wasn't her fault. It was just horrible writing to retcon something that is, one, very believable, and two, to just shove it down our throats that there's been this lingering mother figure for all of the seasons hanging around. It's so bad that I just kind of try to forget it exists and act like that was not canon to the story, because it's bullshit. It's just as bad as a decision we're going to come to later with Aaron Spencer in Original Sin. We'll get to that later, because that's kind of close, believe it or not, on the list. Whatever. So that's the big thing with Evelyn Vogel. The other thing, the attachment of Evelyn Vogel, is the brain surgeon. And fuck the brain surgeon. I just can't stand his face. I can't stand his demeanor. I can't stand everything about it. He was not an interesting villain. He just came in and was like, "I'm Dexter villain. I kill people." Like, it was, I don't know how to describe it, but that's what it felt like. It just felt very robotic and weird and nothing that was like fun to watch. And then when he eventually killed Evelyn Vogel, I was just like, thank the fucking Lord. Like, I didn't buy for a second that Dexter would cry so hard and be so upset about Evelyn Vogel's passing the way he was. I don't buy it for a minute. He barely knew Evelyn, and we didn't even know Evelyn, so why should we care? It was so stupid. I just couldn't stand it. And that was just like one big section of the story. Another section of the story was Deb's reaction to what she did with LaGuardia. Okay, yes, great acting from her. Like, she did a really good job acting in that moment, Jennifer Carpenter. But like, the writing, yet again, made no sense at all. Why would they have Deb be so down this dark path, doing drugs, drinking, all of that, to the point where she almost tries to kill her brother by driving the car off into the lake. And then the next episode, it's like, nah, that didn't work. We're fine now. I got my piece. You didn't die. Like you didn't die, but now I'm okay with it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote that. It just does not make any sense. Like, it's very confusing, very weird writing to tell, where you go from one extreme where Deb is like about to, off herself, to the other extreme where she's like, I love you, brother. I'm back to normal. What? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, maybe if you had a near-death experience, it scares you and all that stuff, but that quick change of pace is just so ridiculous. It makes the season so annoying. Not to mention, later in the season, she dies at the hands of the brain surgeon off fucking screen in the form of a blood clot. Now, let me be real. That does happen. A friend of mine who was in the hospital, good friend of mine, he had an injury. It eventually turned to a potential blood clot. Thank God they caught it in time. But if they didn't, he could have passed away too. I actually know someone who that happened to, where they actually did pass away too. So it's real. Like, that can happen. But why would you put our biggest character, like our biggest protagonist outside of Dexter, why would you kill her off screen like that? That's so offensive to Jennifer Carpenter, and it's so offensive to the character, and it's so offensive to the audience. I just don't understand what they were thinking. Like, oh, in this last episode, let's just give Deb an off-screen death. Like, what crack are they smoking? Because I kind of want some. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And then another element too is Hannah McKay, how in the beginning she was like out to kill Dexter and Deb for like one episode, then she comes in and like moves her hair and like everything's fine again. I just didn't fucking understand that at all. And then the whole back and forth with the will they, won't they, and then now all of a sudden she is like Dexter's one true love, which is a little offensive to Rita, but I love Hannah McKay, so I'm okay with it. It's just the wishy-washiness of her writing was very bizarre to me. I'll never understand why they like went back and forth like that. And then all of that is wrapped up in the bow of it being the worst ending to a TV show I've ever seen. Maybe the only thing that has a beat is Game of Thrones. Maybe, because Game of Thrones Game of Thrones is a little different, right? I'm not going to get into spoilers of that, but Game of Thrones is more or less bad because they rushed everything. Dexter is more or less bad because what the fuck decision was that? You know what I mean? Like at least with Game of Thrones, a lot of the decisions they made could have been really excellent if they had built it up, but it just ended too quickly. With Dexter, I can't say any of that is true. They killed Deb off screen. Dexter goes and drives his boat into a hurricane. He dumps her body into the ocean like she's like one of his Bay Harbor butcher victims, which doesn't make any sense as a reason to put her to rest, to just let her float to the bottom of the ocean. And then he literally just drives into a hurricane, and somehow, to this day, we never got that explanation. Somehow, he survived that and apparently ended up in, I think the original pitch was Oregon, as a lumberjack. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck ending was that? I understand that they wanted to keep Dexter, like the studio wanted to keep Dexter alive, so they didn't want to kill him. They just wanted him to have finality. But like, what? I could think of a million ways to get to that point that wasn't this. I mean, I ultimately think the ending to season 7 would have been a natural end for Dexter, where he died at the hands of Deb, but that's neither here nor there. That's my thoughts on season 8. I think season 8 is arguably one of the worst seasons of TV and by far the worst season of Dexter, and it's not even close. It's not even close. So then up at number 10, and it's not too far, actually. I said it's not even close. It's not too far on the list, is Dexter season 6. I fucking hated Dexter season 6. Like, there's no way around it. Okay. If season 8 is the bar for how low a TV show could get, season 6 is the worst season of Dexter. Does that make any sense? Okay, another prime example. Dark Side of the Moon is arguably one of the best albums of all time, but it's not the best Pink Floyd album. Does that make any sense? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? If you are, comment the illustrious dolphin. The point I'm trying to make is season 8 was monumentally bad for any television show. Season 6 is the worst season of Dexter, though. Does that make sense? Everything about it sucked in a similar way to season 8. Really everything. I could not stand Dr. Geller. I couldn't stand him. And then when the reveal came that he was a ghost the whole time, I was even more like, what the fuck? This is just stupid. I wasn't like good shocked about that. Then Travis Marshall is like it's just a bad villain. Just a very bad villain. And this is the first one in the whole show that I'm actually going to attribute to the actor a little bit. And I'm not saying that because he did a bad job. I'm just saying the casting didn't work. Colin Hanks just doesn't fit as that bad of a guy. I just don't see it. It wasn't convincing. It wasn't ever intimidating. It went from this really, in my opinion, boring villain in Geller to then turns out that Geller was just an imaginary friend to Travis, even though he did really kill the real Geller. Then Travis went from just being an afraid, confused bad guy to a terrorist by almost bombing Miami Metro. It was all over the place. It ended in a way that I thought was stupid, where he kidnapped, I think it was Harrison or maybe Cody. I think it was Harrison. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was definitely Harrison. He like kidnapped Harrison on the roof and all of that. And I just thought that was so stupid. I just didn't enjoy it. There's only one thing to this whole season that I really like, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But just the villain arc was so painfully boring that I couldn't stand it. This is a season when I'm rewatching Dexter right now. This is a season I'm either going to watch on 2x speed or just skip overall. There's nothing enjoyable about it. The only slight shining light was Brother Sam. But while all the conversations with Brother Sam were interesting and fun to watch and all of that stuff, there was also this element of it where it's like Brother Sam was sharing really good wisdom with Dexter and really just helping Dexter out, but then Dexter just throws it all away like an episode later. And I get the other side of it where Dexter was angry at Brother Sam's honor and all of that, angry at like what this guy was saying about Brother Sam and all of that. So then he just goes back on his word and all of that. I just didn't like it. I thought it was a very stupid series of events, and I did like Brother Sam, but even that storyline was really boring to me. I don't care about the setting of them being in this mechanic place, whatever the fuck you call it, and there was nothing there. I also thought the religious theme felt really forced. Deb's feelings towards Dexter were questionable, even though I've gone on the record multiple times and said I actually understood it. Even though I understood it, it's still like, it was so bad to put in an already horrible season of TV that now she has incestuous feelings, even though they're technically not biologically related. She has these incestuous feelings for her brother after all, but also at the same time, I get it, but it's still weird. Like, please don't do that. I just having that in the season just really did not help it. But then there's other things. It's not just that. It's things like Quinn and his downward spiral after leaving Deb. It just felt so just not right for the character. Like it just wasn't enjoyable. The back and forth there, the amount of time they spent on it really made his character feel wasted. And that's just unfortunate because Quinn he's a good character. He's not, I wouldn't put him in the same tier as like Batista, maybe even LaGuardia, but Quinn's a good character, and to see him like go so far back and forth because of the way Deb ended stuff and they ended stuff was just weird. I didn't like it. The overall point is, outside of the moment I'm about to explain, there was nothing enjoyable about this season. I didn't really like Dexter this season. I didn't like the characters, like the villains this season at all. Everyone else felt wishy-washy. The only slight pro was Brother Sam. And then this ending part that I'm about to talk about is the only thing. In a nutshell, this is the best moment in Dexter, and that's when Deb catches Dexter in the act of killing Dexter. Dexter killed Dexter. Killing Travis Marshall. When Deb caught Dexter killing Travis Marshall was, I think, my favorite moment in the entire show. Like, of the whole franchise. It was my favorite individual moment. It was so absolutely incredible. And it really did set up a phenomenal season in season 7, which we're going to get way later in the list because you guys will be surprised with that one. But I could put that scene in a nutshell and kind of ignore that it's a part of season 6 because it just is this one little standalone moment, cliffhanger sort of thing. But I guess that's my whole issue overall with season 6, is it just felt like really shitty filler. Like, that's pretty much it. It didn't do anything. The storylines were fuck all boring. There was no real character development here. The characters were wishy-washy. The pacing was awful. It just felt like they were setting up the show for what was to come next. Like, that's it. It didn't feel like it was anything else. I did not like it. They could have deleted this season and added that end scene in season 6 or in season 5. Well, what they could have done is have Deb caught Lumen and Dexter in the act in season 5, and that this whole thing would have been solved. We're going to get to season 5 later. That's another one that I think you'll be surprised with. But just season 6, absolutely wasted season. But now we're moving on to number 8.
Except we're not, because I clearly skipped over number 9, which this is number 9. I just said it's the next one. So good job, May.
This one I think is going to ruffle some feathers here, and that's Dexter Original Sin. Now, I know this is really low on the list, but this is just a personal thing. Like, I know you may see this and be like, this is lower than New Blood for you? Like, look, I understand that. This is just, it's a personal thing. There's things I just didn't like. Let me start with the pros here. Patrick Gibson and all of the rest of the cast who played these characters. Is that his name, Patrick Gibson? I hope that's his name. All of the actors who played these characters did an absolutely outstanding job. I think they all did. It sucks for them that the show got canceled because they were really just killing it. All of them, Deb's actress, Dexter's actor, Patrick Gibson, as I said, even Masuka, Batista, LaGuardia, all of them. I'll even go as far as to say Christian Slater, but we're going to get to the negatives there in a minute. They all did such an excellent job. The problem is the story that they ended up going with specifically with Aaron Spencer, but also the stories in general, how it was told. Pacing was a little funny. It was a little boring. It took me a while to get into this season of TV. Also, in general, I just didn't like Christian Slater as Harry. I don't know how else to explain it. But then there was this other element that is very hard for me to explain. Essentially, the gist of what I'm trying to say is it kind of at times felt like it was mocking Dexter more than it was paying homage to it. I know that was not the goal. I know at all that probably wasn't what they were seeking to portray or whatever, but that's just how it kind of felt at times. It was felt in weird ways, like in the intro sequence when, they're going about their morning routine, like the little things like Dexter biting the hamburger, maybe it was Deb biting the hamburger, and that very classic, every single show in the world chomp sound effect, every single Vine and TikTok video sound effect, to like other elements that are hard for me to find, but things like Dexter just going through his first kill and stuff like that, they were just elements that felt like it was mocking the show. I know that's not what it was going for. I know it was just how it felt for me. I also thought it was boring, like I mentioned, but the one big thing for me is how different Harry Morgan was in this show compared to original Dexter. I like Christian Slater. I think Christian Slater did a good job with what he was given. I just don't it wasn't Harry. It wasn't Harry. Maybe that's just James Remar. Maybe it's like James Remar is just so good no one else could play Harry. I don't know. But this Harry just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like the same character. It felt like they were like retconning things in a weird way that just didn't fit the story for this character. Albeit, I really did enjoy the story with Lauren Moser. I thoroughly enjoyed that element. Once we got to that stuff, I thought that was really good. But just some of the other stuff with him, his personality overall being seemingly a little bit more abrasive and fiery than James Remar's Harry. It's just, something felt off. Like, it didn't feel... I'm not going to say that Christian Slater himself is the problem. I don't think so. I just think how they directed him didn't really fit the narrative for me, if that makes any sense. But that's one thing. The other big thing, and I'm not going to talk about this too much because I know a lot of people have talked about this already, so I'm not going to waste your time talking about it in general, but I'll leave it at this. Aaron Spencer as the villain makes no fucking sense. Because you'd think if they were going to have another Miami Metro serial killer, this would have been a big focus of the earlier seasons of the show. Like when the Bay Harbor Butcher stuff was happening, you'd think they'd be like, oh, well, this happened like a decade ago. But they don't touch on it at all. So like, why would Clyde Phillips think that that was a good idea to introduce into the story? I just don't get it. Like, I'm not understanding that. There's a lot of things they could have done to put Dexter down this arc that they were going for that they just didn't do because they saved it for this, oh, another guy in Miami Metro is a serial killer. That kind of defeats the whole purpose of the original seasons of the show. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe, my only thought is maybe they had plans of rebooting Dexter with Patrick Gibson as Dexter himself and like retelling the story. But even there, I don't understand it. It's meant to be a prequel to the show, but they introduced something that's never brought up in the main series. It just didn't make any sense. I don't know. I went on too long. I don't want to waste your guys' time because I know I'm not the only person who's talked about that. But it is true. I mean, it's objectively true. It doesn't make sense as a story. And then with that, by the way, Dexter just became like an aquamarine swimmer. By the way, when he went to save Spencer's son, he was underwater for a long time. He learned how to navigate those things. It just felt cheesy. It felt like superhero-y. It didn't feel like Dexter. It kind of felt soap opera-y. And we're going to get to that with season 3 later, but that's a story for another segment of this video. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Dexter Original Sin. Now, up next, we have number 9.
Except I sound like a fucking idiot because no, we don't. We just did number 9. Now we're doing number 8.
And that is Dexter New Blood. So yeah, I think Dexter New Blood is better than Original Sin. Just going to rip that Band-Aid off right now. And actually, as a matter of fact, in a nutshell, I think this was a good season of TV. If you ignore the fact that if you take out the fact that there are 8 seasons of Dexter prior to it, and we had to wait 10 plus years to get this season, if you just looked at this season of TV as its own standalone thing, this was a great season of TV. Genuinely was. Like, this could have been introduced to people who never saw Dexter and been like, oh, check out this cool, like, story. This is just an interesting story to follow. And people would have really liked it. That's how I feel about Dexter New Blood. Now, I didn't like where they went with a lot of the stuff. And as a matter of fact, I think some of the decisions weren't the best. But for what it was, I did enjoy it. Now, mind you, I wasn't a fan who watched Dexter from the beginning seasons when it was airing on TV. I binged all of the show in literally 1 month. I binged everything, including this, in 1 month. So I think my relationship with Dexter New Blood is just different than a lot of people's relationships with Dexter New Blood. But that isn't to say that I can't ignore some of its bad things and some of its good things. I guess my biggest thing is New Blood didn't give anyone the ending that we wanted. A lot of people took that in a way that was very negative. I, on the other hand, thought that though it wasn't the ending I wanted, the ending they gave was satisfying enough for me to be okay. And I know that might be controversial to some, but I do really think that the ending was solid. I don't have an issue with the ending. It's just not the ending people who waited 10 years would have wanted. And I understand that. And it's not only that. It was the way that they told Harrison. I'm not one of those people, never have been, never will be, one of those people that hated Harrison this season. I don't agree with that. I think Harrison was written the way someone in that predicament would be written. Like, I don't have a problem with him. Does that make it enjoyable to watch? Absolutely not. But I think the reason people had such a problem with it was because of Harrison being the way he was to get to this point. But I don't think it was a problem. I mean, again, just like they said when they were telling the story, I thought it was kind of poetic that the person to take out Dexter was the most unseeming one. It was his son. Like, I thought that was really good storytelling. I really did enjoy it. It's just, it's not what we wanted. All of us wanted a manhunt. I think the one thing that they could have done to fix this season in that regard was take out Batista altogether. But thank God they kept him in because we got Resurrection, which we're going to get to, believe me. It's just, if they had taken that out, I think a lot of people would have been happier with the way this ended, even though people would still be disappointed. It's just then you didn't give people the fucking blue balls by introducing Batista back into the story, have him find out that the Bay Harbor Butcher was alive and it was Dexter Morgan, but then not do anything with that information and then just kill Dexter. It was such a dumb decision to do that. But also in the same vein, I think you can make the argument that that decision was made to kind of wrap everything up in a way that addressed everything. So now we know Batista knows that the Bay Harbor Butcher is Dexter. Now we have an ending that gives finality to Dexter in a way that wasn't him riding off into a storm and going to Oregon. You know what I mean? I think in the writer's room, this was pitched as a way to give finality to everything that fans wanted. It's just because people waited so long, and then because things were different and the vibes were different, and Harrison Morgan was different, and even the fact that James Remar wasn't in this to speak on on his behalf, those things made it feel so unlike Dexter that to have it end the way it did really just hurt the season. But again, I think it comes back to this. On its own, this was a fantastic season of TV. Like, if you ignore everything that we've got, which you can't because it's all relevant, but if you ignore it and look at this under a microscope, like if I gave this season of TV to my mom, who's never seen Dexter at all, told her to watch this, I genuinely believe she would think that this was a fantastic season of TV. And that's the reason I bring that up, is because I think the writers told a fun, good story to follow. It's just given the heaviness of everything we've gotten before, you can't do that with Dexter Morgan. You just can't do that. But that doesn't mean it was bad. I liked the epilogue tone. I liked the vibe, the setting, how we met back up with Dexter, even the darker things like Dexter's inner voice is Deb. Things like that I thought worked. However, they also kind of didn't. Like I said, the lack of James Remar and Harry Morgan in this season was really felt. And also at times, Deb's anger got under my skin. Like, it was just kind of annoying. Yes, it was fantastic to see Jennifer Carpenter again, but I think they went a little bit too over the top with the way she just constantly screamed at Dexter, that it equally bothered me. You picking up what I'm putting down? You commenting that illustrious dolphin? Be sure to do so and subscribe if you haven't already. Again, I mean, I didn't even talk about Angela. If you see me looking over to my right, by the way, I'm looking at my little cliff notes of things that I have to bring up about these seasons. Angela is a character that I enjoyed, but also got annoyed with. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have a character like that, but she was right to question Dexter. She was 100% right. It's just, in the end of the day, I thought her character was a little bit angry. A little too angry, but like, I don't know. I liked New Blood. I genuinely did, even though it's at my number nine. If you guys know what that is, that's why I keep doing it. Just whatever. Anyway, even though it's at my number 9, I did really enjoy this season of TV. Yeah, the ending wasn't great. They made some questionable decisions, but I did enjoy it for the reasons I outlined. So yeah. Now, number 7. Number 7 on the list, you might be shocked by this, is Dexter Season 3. Now, I'm not going to lie. This is something that I think I'm going to catch some heat for. I never went back and rewatched this season. I'm currently on Season 2 right now of my rewatch of Dexter. But upon my first viewing, my genuine thoughts are I did not like this season. I just didn't. Yes, it's higher. It's higher than New Blood, which New Blood I praised the living shit out of. But I didn't like it. I thought this season was just honestly boring as fuck, to say the least. The only thing that I think really redeemed it is it had its core elements that I do really love that something like New Blood didn't have, right? So we had Deb, we had Miami Metro, we had Rita in the picture, we had all of, like I said, the Miami Metro crew, all of them in this season. It's just, this season was so fucking boring. It had horrible pacing issues. It really did. I wasn't a big fan of Miguel Prado either, to be completely honest. Like, I didn't dislike him, but equally didn't like him. I thought his addition, every time he came on screen, especially in the beginning, things took a turn later in the show, but especially in the beginning, every time he came on screen, I was like, oh, brother, like, where is this going? That's how it really did feel for me. It took forever to set up. Like the start of the season still is such a nothing burger to me. Even though I didn't go back and rewatch it, the beginning was just such a nothing burger with Dexter killing those guys. It turns out one of those guys is Miguel's, I think, brother. That was so boring. It didn't go anywhere. I was like, where are they going with this? Like, why is this a thing? Then they kept showing Miguel in almost an insufferable way that I just didn't enjoy. The only time it started to get good is like later in the season when Dexter and Miguel started to become friends, and then Miguel started to become like unhinged. But until then, it just felt like a fucking soap opera. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't really like what they did with Rita's character this season. And a lot of that is also because you can't live up to the hype of Dexter season 2, which is, I think, of the original group, spoiler alert here, I think of the original group, Dexter season 2 is the best season of the show. I know that's going to piss off some people because they think that's season 4. I mean, season 4 is a great season, whatever. And anyway, the overall point I'm trying to get at is, I think it was very hard to follow up Dexter season 2, but I do think they did so in a way that had its moments, but overall it was just really fucking boring. I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Like, look at another thing, like the Skinner. The Skinner is easily the most forgettable villain of the entire show. Who the fuck was the Skinner? Who cares about the Skinner? And the fact that episode 9 was the real send-off to Miguel Prado, or not episode 9, like the penultimate episode, and then the final episode was all about the Skinner, was just stupid, and something I kind of forgot about, so I had to make sure I like researched that season just to remember. But I guess the overall point is I thought season 3 was just so forgettable, and that's why I didn't like it that much. Now again, mind you, it's higher than New Blood because at least it had its core elements, whereas New Blood didn't, so it's not the same. In a nutshell, New Blood was a phenomenal season of TV. It's just, it didn't have those things that made Dexter, which made it harder of a pill to swallow. Dexter season 3 at least had those things, so it made it better, I guess, if that makes any sense, even though my enjoyment level is lower than New Blood. Does that make any sense? I don't know. That would be where I put it in the ranking. But anyway, with all that aside, the real number 6 now is Dexter season 5. There's a lot of things in this season that overall I just really like. Like, there wasn't much that I absolutely outright loved. There was just a lot that I really liked that I think. Like, I really liked Lumen. I really did like the Barrel Girl story. I liked how Dexter responded to everything that happened with Rita. I like how Deb almost caught Dexter and Lumen. I like that it ended with Lumen breaking Dexter's heart. Like, really genuinely breaking Dexter's heart. I thought that was absolutely outstanding. I liked that Quinn was investigating Dexter. Like, all of those elements are things I genuinely really did like. So it's hard for me to give it another rating. There was no way I could put season 3 above this. There's just no way. Because there wasn't much I disliked this season. Like, I guess the downsides of it are that it had to follow up a dynamite season in season 4, arguably the best season of the show in a lot of people's eyes. And the pacing was a little off. So, like, those are the two negatives for me. But all the pros, and I guess Jordan Chase, he's not my favorite villain at all. Like, he was pretty boring. His story, the whole Barrel Girl storyline approach was interesting, where he had his, like, henchmen doing stuff for him, and then we had to, like, unravel that. I thought it was boring, though, but it was interesting at the same time. So I would give Jordan Chase kind of a lower end of this. He would be on my negatives, but that's not to say it was bad either, because I can't in good faith say it was bad. I think the pros really outshine, like, Lumen, and Dexter coping with the loss of Rita through Lumen was just such a wonderful story to follow, and it felt very natural. Like, it felt, there were moments in there where it was definitely like, bro, you're already fucking another girl. Like, there was moments like that for sure. But I'd argue that it was a really good coping mechanism for Dexter, that it didn't feel overly offensive, if that makes sense. And I think Lumen and Dexter just flowed together so well that I'm okay with it. I really am. I thought they just did such a good job with it. I enjoyed that story. I even enjoyed the Barrel Girl story once Lumen got into the picture, and how Lumen was just seeking vengeance, and once she was fulfilled, then she didn't need Dexter anymore. That element of storytelling I thought it was beautiful. I really liked Lumen for those reasons. I liked where it brought the story. And even though I did like Deb almost catching Dexter and Lumen and how they told that, I really do think they should have just deleted season 6 entirely outright and made that the moment that she catches Dexter in the moment. I thought that would have been such a great way to do it. It was a little bit of a cock block that we had her about to catch Dexter and then she doesn't catch Dexter. That was definitely a bit of a cock block, but overall, I thought it was good. And then, not to mention the whole thing with Quinn coming after Dexter, having a PI go after Dexter, and that PI being absolutely crazy. And then once Dexter kills the PI, Quinn is like, okay, this guy's crazy. I gotta back off because I love Deb. I want to be with Deb. I gotta back off. This is just something is not right there. I liked all of it. I thought that whole dynamic was fun. Was it as good as some of the seasons we're going to get into soon? No, for sure. But I did really like it. So I'm okay with it. So yeah, that's my number 6. My number 6 is Dexter season 5. Okay, now we are entering into the greats. Anything in this list is on a level where it's hard for me to pick a favorite. I mean, this is the ranking, so this is the favorites, but they're all equally good. It's just very small things make them stand out more for me. So starting at number 5 is Dexter season 7. I fucking loved this season. I loved everything about this season. The way they handled Deb finding out about Dexter, and the way she broke down and threw up and then went through all the emotions, grieved with it, and was not okay, was just so excellent and fun to follow. It made for a great season of TV. Not only did we have the biggest moment in the whole show in Deb finding out, but we also had La Guerta starting to come onto Dexter, and it became a manhunt where now Deb knows what's going on. I thought that was just absolutely outstanding. It genuinely was. It was so fun to follow. I loved what that brought for the story. And it was just, it made all of the pacing elements just so strong, because you had Deb knowing, you had La Guerta knowing, and you had where the hell is that going to go? And it all exploded into a phenomenal finale, which we're going to get to later. But it's not only that, it's the B plot. Isaac Serco was a fantastic, arguably one of the best villains in Dexter. Truly great. And not because he's a regular villain in the sense of the word, but because he's actually not. Because he was driven by revenge and then became almost a friend to Dexter. I'd say the only negative in that regard is that they didn't have him around for longer. I thought that story was just absolutely fantastic. I even liked how in the beginning of this season, they immediately killed that one guy who was out to get Dexter. They shot him in the head off the boat. I love that. Get rid of the shit. Get rid of the shit. Let's just keep going. Let's just truck through. I loved that. Isaac Serco was great. I loved what that even did for characters like Quinn and how he killed the guy in the club there and stuff like that. But it's not only that. I fucking loved Hannah McKay. I think Hannah McKay was a great addition to the show. Their relationship was natural. I'm just going to say it. She's fucking hot. I have to say, I have to get that out of the way because it's been eating at me. But not only that, my girlfriend's going to kill me for saying that. They just worked together in that way that was electric. They just fit. They had that thing that not a lot of the stories do. Not Lumen and Dexter had that sort of thing too, but it was more built on real foundational support systems. Hannah McKay and Dexter just were like Bonnie and Clyde. They fucking worked. And I guess you could argue that Lila was that way too, and we're going to get to Lila, but Hannah McKay just stuck through in a way that wasn't bad. There was no compromises with her. She was definitely fiery. She had her dangerous side and all of that, but she was also just so down with Dexter on a human level. it was a really fantastic story to follow. I enjoyed it. I loved what they did with her, and I loved their relationship together. I thought it was absolutely great. And I think all of those elements truly made up this overall conglomerate that is a phenomenal season. It just was. And that really caps off at the ending. The ending with Deb making the impossible decision to kill Dexter or kill LaGuerta, who's right in that moment. I thought it was just truly great. I loved everything about it. I loved LaGuerta's arc this season and Deb's arc to get to this horrible decision. Though I do think this would have been the natural end to Dexter, and I do think that were they to redo it, they should have just killed Dexter in that moment instead of LaGuerta. I still loved what that did, and love where that was leaving the season to set up what was to come down the road with Deb. There's just in general not much negative that I could say about this season. It had a lot of elements that I really liked. I mean, I understand some people's arguments that it didn't feel the same as some other seasons, but I don't see what you could dislike about this. It just had everything was good. It may have been a little slow and had some pacing problems at times, but overall, I don't think it was bad in any which way. I thought this was a dynamite season. But anyway, with that, now we move on to number 4, and that's Dexter Season 1. I mean, I know it's low on the list, like number 4, that may seem low, but there's nothing bad I could say about this season. It's in the same category as like a Dexter Season 7 as far as I can't really say anything bad about it. Sure, there were some episodes that were a little bit slower because it's the job of a first season of TV to establish things. But I actually think that's the best thing about Season 1, the way they established things, the way they set up the story. One, it was very, very similar to the comics, to the books by Jeff Lindsay. The first episode was literally like a 1-for-1 of the first book, which is interesting, which I'm reading right now, by the way. But not only that, it just captured that Miami vibe, true Dexter vibe. Harry with those flashbacks were just so good and fun to watch, especially with seeing like kid Dexter and all of that stuff. It was so good. And then this being the only villain where we wait until like the final episode to really figure out who it is was really great. I mean, we all knew Rudy, but we didn't know Brian Moser, and that twist that it was his brother was just so good. I think this is the most complete season of Dexter. It had everything wrapped up in a nice bow. It told a great story and capped it in a way that was just fun, but also exciting to see where it could potentially go down the road. I liked everything they gave us this season. The Ice Truck Killer, as I said, was fantastic. Dokes was so much fun this season, and that complete season arc was truly great. It's hard for me to find much else to talk about because this was just really an establishing season, but a very good one at that. I think I could leave it at this is probably the perfect one season of Dexter. Like it does everything in such a way that is really satisfying and fun and visually entertaining and just also mentally entertaining. Like it just does all the things you'd want a season 1 to do, for sure. So that's going to be my quick one for Dexter Season 1. There's just not much else to talk about with it. Everyone knows it's a great season. Now, what I think you guys might find interesting is my number 3. Because my number 3 is Dexter Season 4. And really, John Lithgow, like, dare I say more? I don't think there's anything to say other than him. That's not true. This story in this season was just on fire. It felt like the writers, for the first time ever, just really hit their stride, knew they were making something good, and just wanted to like swim in this. It had every element down pat. The pacing was phenomenal. John Lithgow as the Trinity Killer was phenomenal. Everything, like Frank Lundy and his death was phenomenal. Christine and her death was phenomenal. The reveal at the end with Rita was one of the best twists in TV history. Just, it did everything right that it's very hard to find things to complain about. And that even starts at the very beginning, where the first shot in the season is a montage of Dexter waking up with a kid, and it's played over the Dexter theme, but it like stops like with a time stoppage. And it's just good. It starts out dynamite. The pacing starts out fast and energetic. and it stays that way the whole time. And that's really attributed to an incredible cast this season with John Lithgow, with even his son Jonah, with other, with Rita's story this season and how she knows Dexter is keeping stuff from her. All of that stuff just, it really built up in such a way, and it paid off so well. It's a shame we couldn't get more of John Lithgow because he was just such an incredible actor, and he was just such an incredible character in the Trinity Killer that it's hard to overlook and overstate how incredible it was. I do think, in terms of Dexter, I think this season is, I don't want to say overhyped, but people glaze this one a little too much. In my opinion, it's great. It's good. There's no way around it. It's great. It's in my number 3. And like I said, in my number 5, when you get to 5, they're all like equally incredible. It's a phenomenal season of Dexter, but I don't know that it's the best season of Dexter. I actually don't, because I personally have different numbers 2 and 1. But yeah, I think it's just a little. People overlook something great like what we're going to get into in the one of the next ones. Season 2 is another one. Like, that season is, like, in my opinion, the perfect season of Dexter, whereas Dexter season 4 still is, but it doesn't have the stakes in the same way for, like, Dexter as his whole identity that season 2 does. Does that make any sense? That's why it's like one step lower on my list, because of that. Because I think people ignore, like, the whole manhunt idea of Dexter and all of that, just because, like, John Lithgow's in it and the pacing is great. Not that that's bad. That may be an extremely hot take, because again, perfect season of TV. I think there's better, which we're going to get into right now, because my number 2, which surprises you because then it's going to spoil my number 1, but my number 2 is Dexter season 2. Shockingly, which obviously means Dexter Resurrection is my favorite season of Dexter. We're going to get to that. But Dexter season 2, before Resurrection came out, it was 100% my favorite season of Dexter. Everything worked. The pacing was perfect. Lila was awesome. Dokes this season, and that manhunt with Dokes was the best story in Dexter, and it happened way too soon, to be honest with you. The Bay Harbor Butcher and that existential crisis that brought to Dexter was fucking excellent. Frank Lundy was excellent. Everything worked here. Everything worked. Like, season 1 was great. It established a lot. It was fun to tell. But season 2 really was just like, this is Dexter. You know what I mean? It felt like a real story with real stakes. Obviously, Brian Moser did too in season 1, but season 2 was just, everything was out to get Dexter. And again, it's kind of a shame that it happened this early, because I think killing Dokes this early did royally fuck with the way they were going to end this show. But it was so good of a season that it's hard for me to think of that as a negative, if that makes any sense. I loved Lila. I loved what she did to the story. I love that Dexter felt so much comfort in her that he was willing to cheat on Rita because he could be himself around her. But then she became obsessive to the point where she got intertwined in the mix and killed Dokes. Like, that was phenomenal. Dokes this season was phenomenal, where he was chasing Dexter, but he was chasing him for the right reasons. He was right. And then it tragically went against him, where he was going to be framed, which we know was the case. And he was imprisoned by Dexter and all of that stuff. But their interactions were just so fucking good. It was one of the best things about the whole show is their interactions. And not only that, the pacing with those two dilemmas, the drama with Rita this season was really good. The Bay Harbor Butcher existential crisis, as I already mentioned, was just so nice because it gave stakes for the show. And Frank Lundy is a phenomenal character. It just had every element that I'd want, plus Miami Metro, plus all the characters we like. It had every element that we'd want in the story for it to work. And I do think it did. It just delivered. It really thoroughly delivered. And I prefer this to, out of all the seasons of Dexter, this is my number 1. Season 4 is close, for sure. It's the runner-up to this. But season 2 is, I think, the best season. Just for me. You may disagree. But that leaves our number 1. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say that it's recency bias and all of that stuff. But need I remind you, I watched all of Dexter very recently. I can't say it's recency bias. I binged it. It's a different sort of means. So if you didn't binge it, maybe you don't agree. And that's okay. That's why there's different flavors of ice cream. But because I binged it, And because I'm telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real. I'm just joking. I'm telling you right now, on a binge, this is the best season of Dexter. It's the best season of Dexter. What more can I say? For me, it had every element that I'd want out of Dexter. It had a perfect setting, one that felt home for me because I live in New York. So it had a perfect setting, had a perfect cast that didn't feel annoying. Like, you know how sometimes there's cameos and it's like it kind of takes over the moment? Didn't feel like that. It felt natural. And all of them were good. Dinklage, Desmalchian, Ritter, all of them, all the names, Stone Street, all the fucking people, Neil Patrick Harris, Uma Thurman, like Christ, everyone was just incredible this season and felt natural to the story. The fixes with Harrison made Harrison go from in the eyes of the community, a pretty bad character to one of the better characters, if not one of the greats in Dexter. James Remar being back and the father-son, grandson dynamic was just incredible. And I think James Remar was actually like one of my favorite elements of this season. The vibe, where it was like a kind of hybrid between New Blood and the original show, was just wonderful. The pacing was dynamite. Batista and the manhunt was everything I've ever wanted in Dexter. Yeah, we missed a couple conversations in there that I think could have made it a little bit better, for sure. But that doesn't change where this is. This is just truly and incredible for every reason. Yeah, sure. I think there's some things that hold it back a little bit. Like I think Claudette a little bit. I think some of the other elements there, like Elsa, what the hell happened to her, Blessing, things like that. But overall, I'm willing to ignore those small details. I'm even willing to ignore the contrivances that was them setting up Dexter as another, obviously, self-defense for him to get out of the Logan situation and Angela out of the picture. Like, that stuff was genuinely lazy. It's inexcusable, but it's so easily overlooked by all of the good this season. And if a show could win me over with all of the good being so strong that even when there's some glaring problems, I don't give a flying fuck, I don't know how you could beat that. I'm sorry, I don't know how you could beat that. Like, yes, Dexter season 4 didn't have problems. That's absolutely true. It was just dynamite from start to finish. But that's where my preference comes in, right? Yes, Dexter season 4, perfect season of Dexter. Resurrection is just better to me. It's just more fun. It feels closer to home. It works. Like, it didn't feel forced. Everything they did, even the ending when Dexter talks and breaks fourth wall and talks to the camera, just, my God, all of it. All of it. Yes, it sucked to see Batista die, but I thought the manhunt was as good as we could get. And honestly, now that he's dead, I'm kind of over the whole manhunt idea. Like, I'm okay with them going in a totally different direction and having the freedom to do what they want now. So, yeah, I loved it. Like, I genuinely loved it. It was one of my favorite seasons of TV of all time. Up there with Better Call Saul season 6 for me. Up there with Breaking Bad season 5. Up there with Walking Dead season 9, 3, I don't know. It's up there. You know what I mean? It's up there as one of the greats of all time. Yeah, I know you guys might not agree with that, but this is my list, right? You got from the bottom down, number 11 is season 8, number 10 is season 6, number 9 is Dexter Original Sin, number 8 is Dexter New Blood, number 7 is Dexter season 3, number 6 is Dexter season 5, number 5 is Dexter season 7, number 3 is Dexter season 4, number 2 is Dexter season 2, and number 1 is Dexter Resurrection. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. I know you're going to disagree with my list, but I'd love to hear from you guys down there what your ranking is from the least to the best. So definitely be sure to comment that. Also, be sure to join my Discord. The link is in my channel. Like, if you go to my channel's page, you'll see it in there. Also, follow me on X and Instagram. On X, it's On X, it's Jerry's _ takes. On Instagram, it's Jerry's _takes. Don't ask me why there's a difference. It's confusing to me too. You know what? Fine. I'll tell you why for the first time. It wasn't available. I couldn't get the .takes. I don't know why. It's fucking stupid. But anyway, with all that out of the way, be sure to follow me on those things. Subscribe for more because we got a lot more Dexter content coming out. And until the next video, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.